This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Jamie Glazov Moment. Tonight, CBC's Wendy Mesley's pathetic Jordan Peterson interview. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you saw it, but the CBC, this is the Canadian National Communist Network. I'm from Canada. I usually try to avoid it, but I had to study it. But it's sort of like watching, the old Stalinist propaganda films. It's really painful stuff. And we've got another painful example of the CBC in action here. Wendy Mesley gets to interview Jordan Peterson. Ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Peterson has just written a book, fascinating book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. We have this incredibly noble, intelligent, profound thinker, this great man, dedicating himself to some of the most mysterious, profound, confusing, just some of the most important questions of our time. And he's focusing in on his book on the question of the existence of good and evil, and of our struggle between good and evil, of the reality of innocent suffering, the stories in the Bible and how they interweave with all this. Jordan Peterson is giving us his thoughts in his lifelong study of the meaning of the fall and how that separated humans from God, and how it's intertwined with our suffering, and yet the importance of sacrifice, because in order for ourselves to reconcile ourselves with God, on some levels, the responsibility is with us to make a sacrifice. I'm going over very, very deep, profound, very complicated issues in the space of seconds here. But Jordan Peterson has dedicated himself to these issues, to the Gulag Archipelago that Solzhenitsyn wrote, and everything it meant, and where Solzhenitsyn himself, not just this issue of Soviet totalitarianism, but where Solzhenitsyn was struggling himself with his own suffering and how he had ended up in the Gulag, and where he searched in his own conscience and his own memory of perhaps where he went wrong in life, and how what all of this means in terms of Jordan Peterson trying to help people and trying to also guide people where we can have a happier life. And he devotes time in this incredible book to Dostoevsky and what Dostoevsky struggled with in terms of Jesus Christ coming back facing the Grand Inquisitor. This is in Brothers Karamazov, and how the Grand Inquisitor rebuked Christ for giving man too much freedom, because freedom is too much of a great burden to people, and that the church in some ways is reprimanding Christ and what this means. And this is only one component of this. Why I'm mentioning all of this is these are such serious issues. We've got Jordan Peterson coming forward to give his angle on these things, not just to perhaps give us a better glimpse into history and to the political world today, but to our own lives and how we can perhaps live better lives. And Wendy Mesley takes this opportunity, interviewing Jordan Peterson, to try to catch him. She's gonna catch him that he's associated with racists and right-wing white supremacists. Can you imagine that a person takes this opportunity with Jordan Peterson, who clearly has no connection to racists or to white supremacists, and this, out of everything I've just mentioned and what this book is about, and that, by the way, that's just a little fraction of what the book is about, but I'm just saying what an incredible book that I was just waiting for and just devoured the moment it came in the mail. And Wendy Mesley takes this time to try to bait him and to try to make him look bad, because he was taken, there was some photo taken with some young kids that had this picture of this green frog. And this is how she uses this sacred moment and talking to such a great man and such an incredible book. Let me show you a clip of what she does with her time with Jordan Peterson.
I've read a lot of what you've posted in the last year or so. In fact, you're very careful about saying, please be less radical.
So then there's a real question there, is given that you've encountered the material I have, why do you think that all these accusations have been leveled at me?
Well, I don't know. That's what I find so curious.
It's convenient.
Because I also found this picture of you with behind the pet. Is that you? I mean, it's you, but I mean that's an actual photo of you. You did that.
Yeah.
So this is the Pepe flag, which I'm sure you know is seen by the left as a hate symbol, and
the left sees all sorts of things as hate symbols.
But it's used by the extreme right as a way of spreading messages. It's seen as an alt-right symbol. This is an alt-right hand symbol, and here you are.
It's mostly used by young men who are poking and causing trouble on social media. That's mostly what it's used for.
But you're supposed to be anti-chaos and anti-provocation. I'm just wondering why you would choose to be in this photo.
Well, I've probably had my photo taken with 5,000 or 6,000 people in the last year.
No, but this is with the Pepe flag.
I understand.
I mean, you know that this is now seen as a symbol for the alt-right.
Well, I did a video online called The Metaphysics of Pepe with Jonathan Pajot, who's an Orthodox carver of icons. And if people are interested in my views on what's happening with this particular symbol and why it's occurring, then there's a 2-hour discussion about that.
Richard Spencer wears he's a white supremacist. He wears the Pepe symbol. It's become adopted, I'm sure you know this, by the far right. And here you are holding up a flag like it's a joke. So I just wonder if it could be misinterpreted by people that you're trying to send a message that Pepe's cool and the alt-right's cool.
I think it has been misinterpreted. I didn't know when it was happening. I mean, it's hard. I don't know what you mean exactly. There were a lot of people lined up. They were doing a lot of things. This was one of the things. It took about 30 seconds. I would also say it's the one thing, well, it's the one thing that has been photographed that the left in particular has been using against me for the last year. But it was just happenstance more than anything else.
Do you know,
and most of the people who are using this sort of symbol are using it in a deeply satirical way. Now, the fact that the far right has decided that it's a radical indicator of the validity of their particular view doesn't mean that that's what it is. So it's something that we haven't seen before. There's a lot of game playing going on online.
There is a lot of game playing, and there's a lot of sort of codes and dog whistles and so on all sides being sent.
Right. So, you know, Pepe the Frog, and there's these 2 young kids holding this, you know, this flag of some sort, and there's this green frog on there. And somehow Jordan Peterson is the bad guy now. Wendy Mesley, this is what, I mean, we know that this is what the CBC does, but this is what you're really doing with your time. So, you know, I hardly know anything about this Pepe the Frog thing, but apparently it's some satirical symbol. The young kids are causing trouble on social media, and it's these video games or whatever, and apparently this green frog's been adopted by some alt-right groups or something, and now Jordan Peterson's this bad guy because out of the 10,000 people he has pictures taken with him that he meets, this is just, as he said, happenstance. And somehow she's trying to associate with him with some these far right sinister people, and that this is just a disgrace. It's a disgrace. It's so pathetic. It's so embarrassing to watch this. Wendy Mesley, this is what you're doing with your time. That they're like, you know, for Jordan Peterson, this was like 30 seconds out of an entire day, out of weeks and months and years of dedicating himself to the profound, complicated issues of Fyodor Dostoevsky and the Gulag Archipelago and the Bible, and you want to try to bait him about Pepe the Frog and some picture that was taken? What is this really about? You know, when I watched this, I was just, I don't know, but we do know, actually. We know what this is about. We know what it's about, Wendy Mesley, because you work for the CBC, right? Your handlers, your masters are the Unholy Alliance, right? and it's the left. The left is in control, right? And you see Jordan Peterson has committed a thought crime, right? He's a dissident. He's a thought criminal. And you got to get him on that show. Oh, man, you can't possibly be nice to Jordan Peterson and try not to slice him, and actually maybe to compliment him and be nice to him and bring out his best and actually his real message and actually his real reality, which is, by the way, helping so many people, dedicating his life even as a psychologist that liberated so many people from depression, perhaps even suicide, and how this book is going to help so many people maybe get their lives right, and the vital message that this book is giving the world and trying to clear us from pursuing totalitarian ideological movements that murder mass millions of people. But you're part of a cult, Wendy, right? So you got to go at this thought criminal, because you see, Jordan Peterson is a thought criminal for the left. He's committed a crime. And so you have to look good, right? You can't be nice to him. And what is that crime ultimately? This will take another whole moment to discuss, but we know what it is. We know that Jordan Peterson does not fall in line with the leftist agenda, with identity politics, with building this perfect world, the Tower of Babel that the left wants to create, right? The perfectibility of the human race and of institutions and the Tower of Babel, and everybody's going to be equal and everybody's going to hold hands. We know what happened with that experiment in the 20th century. We know what it led to in terms of Mao's Cultural Revolution and the Khmer Rouge and the Stalinist killing fields. We already know what all that led to, where these totalitarian revolutions lead. But you see, the ideas that led to that are still very popular. And the left continues its agenda just by other means. And the CBC is right on point, right on that bandwagon. Justin Trudeau, you know, the CBC, Wendy Mesley, time to punish this thought criminal. I'll just leave with this, you know, it's embarrassing. We understand what you're doing, Wendy Mesley, but I'll just say this before I go. When we watch these utopian revolutions, they eat their own, ultimately, right? In terms of the Bolsheviks building that paradise that the left is trying to build today, that utopian paradise. We know what happened with that first generation of Bolsheviks when the Stalinists started to kill them off. And we know what happened to the Stalinist executioners when they were murdered by the executioners. We know what happens with these utopian revolutions. We even see it today, even in academia, where those older generation of the revolutionaries from the 60s and the 70s, and now they're being sliced. Now they're not the right kind of revolutionaries, because the new revolutionaries that are coming all of a sudden are saying, wait a minute, you're not black, or you're not transgendered, or you don't have the right thoughts on this or that. But the totalitarianism is now victimizing them, right? Because when you're in this totalitarian cult, the target, yes, the utopian revolution goes for the kulaks, but when they kill all the kulaks, it turns inward. The killing fields turn inward. So what I leave with today is, Wendy, you must be so proud when you went back to your CBC masters and handlers, and you know, you sliced Jordan Peterson so well. You were so good. You're such a good leftist because you attacked Jordan Peterson and tried to make him look bad. But watch out. You see, because your leftist masters and this utopian revolution you're all a part of, yeah, it's targeting Jordan Peterson. But guess who it's going to target next? Revolutions, utopian revolutions, eat their own children. Always. It's just a matter of time, and when you step out of line. We'll see you on the next Jamie Glazov Moment. Good night.